Hey guys, Gentleman72 is my first video, and I'm a big wrestling fan, so I'm gonna do a rant on John Cena. So basically, John Cena stormed on the scene about 2002, and he basically lost his adult fan base in about 2005. I don't know what happened. He started Vince McMahon, sort of started pushing him down our throats, and he was champion for like a year, more than a year, and I feel kind of bad for him because he's such a hard worker, and this is what he has going for him. He's a hard worker and he's a company guy. He'll do whatever they tell him to do, WWE tells him to do, and he's the most over guy they have. He's a new face of the company. He's not a Stone Cold Steve Austin. He'll never be one. He won't be a Hulk Hogan. Really because, wrestling today, it's different than it was then. It will never be as big as it was in the 80s and 90s, the Attitude Era. And, John Cena is no Stone Cold Steve Austin. He doesn't have the mic skills. He's not as exciting in the ring. Okay, he's exciting in the ring. He's put on some damn good matches, like with Shawn Michaels, the hour match they had on Raw, with Edge, a TLC match. He had a great match with RVD, One Night Stand. That was a funny match. The crowd booed the shit out of him. That was the most heat I've ever seen a crowd boo anyone, so that was pretty funny. So, yeah, like I said, he's a hard worker. He's a company guy. He's over. So, you think that he'd get, just as much, you think he'd have as many fans as Stone Cold Steve Austin? He'd be as big as Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan. But see, his demographic of fans are mostly, kids. I'm just guessing here, talking out of my ass. About 6 to 12, I think is the biggest age group of his fans. See, with Stone Cold, Stone Cold, he had a likable demographic, a likable fan base. How should I say this? His character was likable to all demographics. So, kids, kids from 5 to 12 would love him because he's the face of the company. They don't know any better. They're sheep, so they can cheer for anyone WWF for the time tells them to, and because he's awesome. He was exciting. He was awesome in the ring. I think people say Cena sucks. He can't wrestle. I mean, Stone Cold, if you see him in the ring, he's not much of a technical wrestler. He can wrestle, and he used to be able to wrestle before he got that neck injury, but he wasn't much wrestler. He was no Chris Benoit, or he's no Kurt Angle. But see, he had weaknesses in the ring. Like he wasn't a very good technical wrestler. He was a good wrestler. It's just he wasn't good technical. So he hid those weaknesses, and he showed the positives. He could brawl. He could fight. He was a badass. He would get a steel chair and beat the shit out of people. So, really, he showed the positives. He showed that he could brawl, he could fight, and that he hid the weaknesses. Like, most of his matches were brawls. They weren't technical matches. Some of them were, but most of them were. And with Cena, he tries to be technical. He tries to be, like a Chris Benoit. He tries to have, and see, the thing is, he's not much for a wrestler. So I think what he needs to do is show his positives and hide his weaknesses, just like Stone Cold did, just like pretty much what Hulk Hogan did back in the day. But you see, now it's different. WWE's PG, so they ban chair shots to the head. So I mean, what's Cena gonna do? I mean, I don't know. I mean, really, Cena, to me, if you're over the age of 18, he doesn't appeal to you. He has stupid ass promos, the same inspirational promos. I mean, every single time he's out there, he never changes. Stone Cold, his promos were intriguing. They're interesting. They're likable to all demographics. He had the whole package. He had the in-ring ability and he had the mic skills. John Cena, he's had some good matches, but he doesn't have the same excitement value as Stone Cold did. I mean, if you're actually, go to a live event, once Cena goes out there, it's electric. The places, it gets loud. Trust me. The first time I went to the Great American Bash, 07, when he went out there, I had never heard anything like that. It was my second show, but that I went to, but his reception was the loudest I've ever heard. Being there live. So I mean, once he gets out there, I can't talk today. It's it's fun. It's exciting. I think he should really change his the way he's booked in matches, because really, okay, so basically the match starts, he throws some punches, he does his shoulder blocks, the other person his opponent dominates him for about, I say, 10 minutes. Cena comes back, does a 5-knuckle shuffle, tries to go for that feud, the guy counters it, and then Cena basically wins after another 5 minutes of trying to do your finishers back and forth. He needs to be booked differently. If he has matches, he should have matches where he could, it's a back and forth match. Cena, for most of his career, has not had a lot of back and forth matches. It's either him dominating, squashing the other guy, or his opponent, dominating him, then Cena coming back and winning. That's a typical Cena match. No one can argue that. So I think in matches he needs to hide his weaknesses and show his positives. He can fight, he can brawl. So why trying to be this technical wrestler? I mean, you see him doing like always different holds. I mean, why should he do that? He knows he can't wrestle. I mean, why should he think he's a technical wrestler when he's not? I mean, anyone with a brain can know that he's not as good as a Kurt Angle. I mean, so why should he pretend to be? So really, with him, I mean, if he goes heel, I think that'll be a really positive thing for the company. It'll be huge, really, because if fans hate him, if the adult fans boo him, then if he turns heel, WWE is going to want you to boo him. He will get so much heat, it won't even be funny. So I think that's why they should turn him heel. And I can't blame them for shoving him down our throats. He's the face of the company. I mean, without him, who's a household name? I mean, there's Undertaker, Triple H, but Undertaker's going to be retiring soon. Triple H is not, he had neck surgery, so he isn't wrestling now. So who's a household name? Who's bigger than pretty much all of them besides Undertaker? John Cena. So I mean, I don't blame them for pushing him down our throats. I think it was good for business because young fans will cheer for anyone. So really, I think he's definitely likable to kids, especially since it's PG. But he needs to change. He needs to change his promos. He needs to change his match styles so he's likable to all demographics. Why cater to the kids? Because he knows, WWE knows the internet fans hate him. Okay, so why should he only cater to kids? Why does he need to have these comedy segments and promos? Why does he need to act like a jackass and embarrass himself? He should be like a Batista. WWE, since it's PG, he can't be Stone Cold Steve Austin. He should be a Batista. Batista was, a badass face, okay? A badass baby face. He wasn't like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he had the perfect character. Especially since it's, in the PG era, he was a badass. He could fight anyone, wasn't scared of anyone, and he carried himself in a way that he was intimidating. Cena is not intimidating. He should be a Batista in the PG era. I mean, Batista was, I think, a perfect example of, that you can still be a good heel or face in the PG era. You just have to do it right. So really, I'm going to wrap it up here. Cena, hard worker, not a very good wrestler. He needs to hide his weaknesses, show his positives, and he needs to have a more likable character so he appears to all demographics. Because, the PG era is going to last forever, so why does Cena need to limit himself, with his fan base? So that's basically it. It's my first video, so I'm sorry if I was all over the place, but my topics and everything, but that's pretty much it. Thanks guys, and I'll talk to you later.